how do trauma-related disorders actually manifest in LGBTQ individuals? We can examine not just the standard PTSD symptomatology like avoidance, intrusion, numbing, but we also want to look at some of the comorbid diagnoses. As we know, depression is highly comorbid with PTSD. What's startling, though, is the number and the prevalency of suicides and suicide attempts within this particular community. For example, LGBT youth are 4 times more likely, as compared to their heterosexual peers, to attempt suicide. When you then incorporate the fact that families might be rejecting or stigmatizing, that rate actually jumps to 8 times as likely to attempt suicide. So depression, anxiety, all of these comorbid diagnoses, they exist, but we also have to be aware that they might be disproportionately prevalent in this LGBTQ population. In addition, LGBT individuals also have higher risk of contracting HIV, other STDs, having nicotine, drug, alcohol dependence and addiction, suffering from depression, and even dropping out of school and facing homelessness. So these are some of the unique comorbidities that we see within LGBT communities. Clinicians can do a lot to engage clients in therapy. I think the biggest piece of advice is to follow the client's lead. Allow the client to be an expert in themselves and their experiences, trying to see the world through the lens in which they view the world and how they understand themselves. So, for example, asking your client what pronouns they prefer, asking broad, open, vague questions that allow the client to fill in their answers rather than assuming or interpreting erroneously. For example, rather than asking something like, oh, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, simply leaving it open so that the individual can fill it in with whatever terminology they choose. So instead asking something like, any romantic interests, or describe your romantic past. I think it's important to engage clients by asking about their current supports, friends, families, schools, religious services, trying to understand that really, again, that acceptance and that level of safety and trust that they have in their community is going to have a direct impact on how they cope with their traumas. So trying to better assess for what services they have and what services they might need. Within the field of LGBT studies, there are a few limitations. We have a lot of research on the prevalency rates, we understand the comorbidities, and yet there's still this relative disconnect between what we know and how we implement that in society. The rules and the laws are changing. Society is changing. It's markedly more accepting than perhaps it has been in the past, but we still have a long way to go. So I think as clinicians, we need to focus our efforts on not just engaging with our clients and being respectful in that capacity, but also within society as a whole. That can take the form of advocacy on Capitol Hill. That can take the form of simply advocating for your clients by writing a letter of gender reassignment surgery and advocating that they receive that, to even just making simple changes in our own lifestyles. And when we're out in public and we hear anti-gay language or bias, being comfortable speaking up for that, because just one small step towards that can create and foster change within our society at large. The sooner that we can intervene with our clients in childhood and we can help with the school-based system, we can help within the community, we can help within the families, we may actually be helping our clients stave off those negative trauma-related sequelae for later adulthood. And that's really the important piece, is that we're not just trying to help people cope with their trauma-related disorders, but we actually want to do some preventative work. We want to intervene before it becomes problematic.